Hello everyone and welcome to Oxygen Not Included, a new title from Klei Entertainment, developers of Invisible Ink and the much loved Don't Starve. In fact, as you can probably already tell from the art style, this game has more than a few passing similarities to Don't Starve, chief among them the fact that it has its tongue very firmly in its cheek. Now before we get down to what this game is, I do want to stress that this game is currently in the alpha testing phase. You can purchase the game and thus gain access to the game in the alpha phase, but do understand that this game is very much in a state of active development. Things will change, some things aren't there yet, but they will be, and the things that are there, they're not nailed down. Things can change quite drastically. There's a lot of tweaking to do, but what I've seen so far, it is a very playable and extremely enjoyable game. Now, on to what Oxygen Not Included is. Well, it is a bit of a sort of space colony management simulation. It is, I've heard some people describe it as RimWorld and Terraria combined. I wouldn't quite say that it has much in common with Terraria other than it's a side-on view. But certainly RimWorld with a side-on view merged with Don't Starve. Now that is a very accurate description in my opinion. We start with 3 Duplicants. These are not people, these are duplicants. Stop thinking of them as people. They are basically disposable and you are going to go through quite a lot of them even if you get attached. Now, unlike what I just said, counter to that, they do actually have skills. They get better at them and eventually you are going to get attached to them. Just understand, they are going to die and it's going to suck. And that's just the way it's going to be. But don't worry, you can print more of them from the people printer. Now, each person has various skills, as you can see, and all of these things have varying degrees of usefulness in the game. I'm not going to go over each one right now. Instead, we'll cover them as we actually encounter them in the game. Now, I'm going to discount this person right away. You've got infinite reshuffles. A decor expectation of 40 is going to cause issues, especially when, if they get stressed, they like to break things. That's just going to go horribly for us. That's much more manageable, and when they're stressed they just throw up everywhere, which you might think is a lot better, but honestly it's probably just as bad because it causes all sorts of other issues. A vomit spiral is something that can happen in this game, much like a tantrum spiral into a fortress. Yeah, and you don't really want to think about a vomit spiral. This Duplicant's hardy immune system repels most common illnesses, but they are a yokel and they can't do research. Well, that's honestly quite fine. Learning is actually how quickly they get better at skills from using them. This Olive feels like there's an emotional wall between themselves and the world that their multi-tool just can't penetrate. Aww. Well, Olive, you're going to be renamed. You shall be Eminia. If I could spell, it would be great. In fact, we'll just shorten it to Minia. There we go, Minia. Welcome to the calling. You are a level 7 scientist. We have an early bird. They get up in the first part of the day. They have +2 to all skills, but they are a scaredy cat. They don't like combat. That's actually not too bad. Their decor expectation is super low, which is really good, but they do break things when they're upset. That's not so good. But admired by all for her seemingly tireless work ethic. Little do people know she's dying on the inside. Oh well. I feel a little bit awkward renaming you, but okay. We will be going with Calissa Fox. There you go. Currently I'm grabbing names from the Dapperdell Discord because we don't yet have a wealth of comments to draw names from, but understand that we are going to be expanding and shrinking and expanding the colony a lot throughout this playthrough, so by all means drop a comment down below if you would like your name used on any of the duplicants that come in the future. Finally, Cecil. Tinkering is actually a good skill because it means they're very good at using any machinery. That's super important. Mole hands. They're very good at digging and they are a yokel. They can't research. Not so great. Honestly, there's a technical term for Cecil's personality. Dweeb. Nah, let's go with someone else. Wow. That is amazing. Interior decorator, just a little more to the left, creativity +5, decor expectation +5, but you got a small bladder. This duplicant is a tiny pea-sized bladder. Adorable. I like the fact that you called it a pea-sized bladder as well. Okay, you shall be joining us. Let us go ahead and rename you. You shall be Belial. There we go. This Belial is consumed by a deep, soulful weariness that no amount of sleep could possibly vanquish. Oh, we'll try and fix that. Right, name your colony, the not-so-super citadel. The not-so-impenetrable pig pen? Chaotic space hut. The not-so-chaotic utopia. Asteroid. Deadly space camp. The not-so-super panopticon. Serene Acropolis. I actually like Serene Acropolis. We're going to go with that one. Let's go forth. Now then, here we go. So, this is where we start, and also this is... Don't believe what that's actually called. I think it's just called a printer, but it's actually a people printer. Alert! Your crew is awoken miles beneath the surface of an unfamiliar terrestrial body. Oddly, they have no recollection of how they got here. It might be time to start digging, and we're immediately going to pause. There's an awful lot of stuff going on all over the screen, and we will cover most of it as and when it becomes relevant. Again, not so hot on the whole info dump thing, because if we do that at the beginning, by the time we actually get to most of this stuff, we will have forgotten what we said. However, space pauses, tab will tweak the time setting. You've got some basic information up here. Probably the most important one is higher stress. Hovering over it tells us what everyone's stress is, and calories available. That's basically how much food is available. Super, super useful. Right, so, as you can see, there's all kinds of things going on. There's all sorts of stuff that we can dig through, which is where I think some people make the Terraria connection, but honestly, you know, saying it's like Terraria because you can dig and it's side-on view, you may as well say it's like worms. Down here we have lots of water, and I actually really like the water physics in this game, but also the gas physics. As the name implies, oxygen, pretty big thing. We've got all sorts of overlays that tell us the breathability of the air. Not all air is breathable, though air is a specific mix of chemicals. Understand, when someone says air is not breathable, it just means it's not particularly good air. It's maybe stale, or it's got the right mix of chemicals, or rather gases, but not quite enough of it. It's very thin or too dense, things like that. If it's not air, then it's probably toxic, like CO2, other things along those lines. But air is always air. Over here we have got the power grid. We don't have any power. We've got also things, temperature, lighting, liquid plumbing. These become much more important later on. But the main thing to understand, there's lots of different overlays that gives us different stuff. Jobs. Very similar to RimWorld, we can tell certain people that you're allowed to do certain jobs. For now, and possibly even throughout this first playthrough, I'm just going to let everyone do everything unless it becomes absolutely vital that I tailor people. Over here, this is the vitals for everyone. You get a lot more information, like how full a person is. You can start rationing them, which is useful if you start running low on food. But again, the most important part that I found is the stress. Reports, quite useful. Just gives you a little bit of information on the previous day, allows you to pick up certain problem areas. For example, produce no oxygen, removed quite a lot. That's probably cause for concern. Research will unlock later on. But let us get to the game. So, first thing we want to do, we want to expand a little bit. That's going to be super, super important. This is very, very good. This is oxalite. It's an ore that produces oxygen. It just pumps it into the area where it's in. The more faces of this rock you open up, the better. But eventually it'll just wear down. So this will go away, and then this will have two faces available, and then this will break down, then these two would be available, and so on and so forth. So you don't really need to dig around it if you don't want to. I do. Now that we've got a little bit of material, we can do a few things. First and foremost, I'd like to build a ladder all the way up there. In fact, I'm going to cancel this little bit there. We don't need that part. Now, as soon as I've got a little bit more materials, I'm going to build a storage compactor so that we can start putting things aside. Now, in terms of importance, so far as I've played, I would say in terms of importance, the things you need to look out for, oxygen, just cavities in the asteroid that are already filled with oxygen, algae, and water. Algae and water are practically the same level of importance. These are all things that you desperately need because they're all things that help you make oxygen and or food. Everything else, varying degrees of useful depending on what you're currently trying to do. But algae, whenever you see it, get it. Same with oxygen. Water, have a path to it. You don't need to collect it. Mostly your duplicants will just grab it when they need it. Now that we've got enough of this still, let's go ahead and pop that down. In fact, I would kind of like a second one, but I don't have the materials for it just yet. Now then, we've dug our little way up, so I'm going to start digging through all of this. Your duplicants can reach up a reasonable way, actually. We're going to go ahead and start digging into here. We've got some plants over here that we can collect. Let's go ahead and do that. This is more of a decorative plant. We should gather this one so that we can put it in the plant pot later on. So just go ahead and dig up there. This is contaminated water. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It's probably not safe to drink. Also, when your people throw up or when they pee themselves, various other things, they produce contaminated water. Not great. Almost everything in this game you can have a look at and you can see details about what they're doing, info, stats and things like that, like how much they're exhaling or inhaling, what they're producing, all things like that. It's actually really, really cool. There's a lot of information here if you want to take it. Over here, we're actually going to make a little ladder going down on that side. We actually really do need to do a little bit more digging though, in terms of just the general stuff around. Now this is coal, consumable ore. Generally speaking, the game kind of abstracts a lot of stuff, makes it a lot easier to deal with. So you've got minerals and you've got metals. You don't really have to make anything out of a specific mineral or metal most of the time. Some things are a little bit more specific than others, but generally speaking, everything is abstracted and it makes the game so much more, so much easier to move through. So it's so much more convenient. I really, really like this. Now we're going to be probably making this ladder all the way down into the water. Your duplicants can swim. They will swim. In fact, a fairly big mechanic of the game is that sometimes they just have to hold their breath while they're doing something or moving through an area. Granted, once they've done that, they're going to rush off and start panting all over the place, but you know, it happens. There we go. And in fact, it's actually quite funny when because they breathe out carbon dioxide in an oxygen scarce environment. That can mean that just where they're sleeping, they'll be breathing in the oxygen and breathing out the carbon dioxide. They've got a lot of them in there. Suddenly the room fills with carbon dioxide and not enough air, and then they wake up in the middle of the night gasping for air and have to run out into the kitchen to have a breath. It's quite funny, though I actually do feel quite bad for them because they sound like they're in such distress, which makes sense. They're not able to breathe while they're sleeping. But still, let's see. What do we want to be? We've got so much algae. It's amazing. We've also got a lot of oxygen-producing plants. This is a plant that will produce meals, or rather, they'll produce, well, they say it's a grain. It produces an edible grain that is suspiciously capable of movement. Yeah. The jury's still out on whether I believe that part. We are actually fairly low on the basic materials though, so what I need for this is raw mineral. This is a raw mineral. It's stone, cultivatable soil. Sand is a filtration medium. What we're going to do is we're going to just dig along here so I can get a lot of material, and we're going to speed up time as well while we're going. There we are. We've got plenty of algae, which is good. What have I actually got stored in here? I can bring this up and I can see everything that's been stored in there, which is very useful. Right, at this point we're going to have to start looking at a couple of things fairly soon. We're taking a little bit of time right now, but we are going to have to start looking into research sooner rather than later, honestly. Yeah, you carry on doing that. We'll just allow these oxygen rocks to keep pumping the area full of highly breathable air. You need a toilet. Yeah, I know. It's really super bad, isn't it? Oh dear. Did I just mess that up for you? I think I may have. Maybe I shouldn't take that away while you're stood on it. Now, we need somewhere for you to go to the loo. We've got coal over there. Sure, a bristle blossom is actually pretty cool. Okay, so the first structure we're going to build is an outhouse. And we're going to place this outhouse over here on the coal. Maybe it'll eventually become coal in the distant future. Oh dear. You had a bit of an accident, didn't you? I'm so sorry. So very, very sorry. That is never pleasant. Now, we can quickly mob that up, and we really do need to, because if that gets all the way down there, it's going to contaminate our water supply. Super bad stuff is happening right now. Quickly. Super badly. I'm going to increase the priority of these parts. Go over there right now, please. Don't let it contaminate my water. Now. Oh, I think we got it just in time. Oh my lord. Right, it's night time, so they're all going to just chill out for a little bit. We're just going to get rid of these. These are all tutorial messages. But we now have a toilet, or an outhouse rather, and they'll go there, and occasionally that will fill up. I think they fill it with dirt, and then it turns into contaminated dirt when they're done with it, and we have to put it somewhere. This game doesn't pull its punches with that. Expect to have to deal with your colonists' need for satisfaction in the lavatory department. There we go. And we'll just add a bunch of tiles here, make this all nice. We'll also dig up the soil that was there. Then immediately replace it with tiles. And this is just generally going to make them a little bit happy because they prefer the feeling of these tiles rather than sharp rocks on their feetses. We can add in a few things like a pneumatic door. Unfortunately, it's not going to stop liquids moving through. If we did have that available, I would absolutely build that in order to try and prevent any mistakes from getting down into our water supply. And eventually we will get it, it's just that we're going to have to research it first. Let's grab that. However, doors still do serve a purpose in that it allows you to segregate an area, and generally it just makes the area nicer, really, overall. But the first thing we really want to do, get ourselves some power. Now we're going to need raw metal for this. Well, there's loads of metal right above us, so please begin the excavation. Now, to get up there is going to be a little bit harder. So we're going to have to build some ladders so that they can reach. Something like this will... actually, I should put it there, really. And something like that as well. And that'll give them access to more or less all of the stuff up there. And then we can just pull them down later on. It shouldn't be too much of a problem for us. But there we go. We can actually now make our first powered structure. We are going to make basically a treadmill that someone's going to have to run on in order to generate power. And I see nothing wrong with this. They might, but I don't. There we go. Let's continue grabbing all of this metal because we do so terribly need it. And yes, sand works as it does in a lot of games like this. And let's get rid of it. There we go, so that we can access everything else. Now the sand will become super useful to us a bit later. There we are. Let's continue filling all of this up. Wonderful work there. And we're also going to add in another one of these just because I can. Right, at that point, I do want these to be walls, and I am going to build pneumatic doors there. Again, they're not going to stop anything from moving past, but it'll make it a little bit nicer. There we are. So this is now a discrete room. Right, in terms of the power, I actually really like it, but you wire the power around like so, and that will now, when that's built, this not having any power stored will give someone a job to go and stand on the treadmill and run like the dickens in order to power it. And I approve. Let's get all of that sorted as well, please. And there we go. We're going to want to get over there. We just destroyed the plant. That is unfortunate. Not my intention, I assure you. We're going to get rid of those. Don't need access up there. And there's a load of stuff up there, which is good. You can see a little bit of a charge there, which is very, very nice. Now, this one doesn't bleed power, which is good. Later on, you will get ones that do. The next thing that we're going to super duper want, probably some beds, given the situation. And maybe we could build that down here, even. Yeah, I actually kind of like that idea. Let's go ahead and build a little area down here. It'll make use of the fact that we've got all this algae down there. And we'll probably pop down another door down here as well. Something like that. We'll have the door right there. The nice thing with this is you can build stuff on top of other things, and they'll simply destroy it in order to build the thing, which is actually quite nice. But I definitely want some cots. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll plan for the future by putting in 4 of them. There we go. And we'll also pop that there as well. There we are. And someone just got a skill increase. Belial just got a skill increase. Let's see. What skill have you got? What went up? Belial's athletics is now 2. Now athletics, really? It's not showing as 2. Is sword back? Oh, sword back is -1. Got sword back from sleeping on the floor. But skill level is 2, and it gives advances to movement speed, so on, so forth. We'll keep these 2 just for general storage. Everything can be put in there. But right now, we're starting to run out of food, and that is never a good thing. Let's build that across there. So what I'm going to have built, I think making a source of food is more important, really, than almost anything else right now. So let's build out a little area to the side where I can build this. It'll be nice and neat for me. We'll also build that up along there. Now this is a reasonably tall structure, but it does not need to be that tall. It's a 3 tall structure. We can go ahead and pop it in there, I think. Yeah, that'll be fine. Pop that there. and then build this over the top as well. And this can just be somewhere where people go and very quickly produce the food that we're going to need. Now we're going to need to run power down there for it, but it'll take a little bit of time. How much food have we got stored? Yeah, we still got a reasonable amount. We've got a couple of cultivated muckroots, I believe, or rather not cultivated, but just harvested muckroots. Oh, there we are. And that is not grain. I'm sorry, but no. Also, I happen to know that later on when you make food out of the stuff that you get there, it's called meal lice. Yeah, that's not great. But we can turn them into delicious noms. Well, deliciousness is subject to investigation, but we can turn it into noms, and that's the main thing. We can also build a research center, which I think we should do. In fact, I think a second small battery would be super useful. Let's continue bringing this along. Now, you can run the wires through the walls, or you can just run them through other things like this. If I tried to run a wire down there, it would have broken the oxalite rather. But we are going to need power over here. So let's bring this along and then straight down. And now we're connected up on this layer. And we can just take that up there and connect it if we want to. Okay, now that is going to help people out with their sorbet, which is going to be grand. Nothing is happening over here just yet because we have not chosen research. There aren't very many things to research, but there is a lot of stuff that comes from each level of research. I can only imagine that more will be added as time goes on. The first thing I think is the most important is this one. Farming technology allows us to build planter boxes, which allows us to cultivate our own food. Also allows us to build a compost heap, which allows us to turn contaminated dirt into fertilizer. Obviously, contaminated dirt is what's coming out of our outhouse. And an algae terrarium. Recycles carbon dioxide into a small amount of oxygen. This is basically a passive effect, which I think is wonderful. We can produce a little bit of oxygen already with an algae deoxidizer. I'm going to wait for the algae terrarium to come along though first so I can show you how that all works. And also we had enough oxygen producing items that we should actually be quite good for breathable air in this area. Now, of course, carbon dioxide is a heavier gas. So here, that's going to sink. Oxygen doesn't so much rise as it simply is lighter than carbon dioxide, so they'll displace each other. But carbon dioxide will actively sink through air, so that's fine. And people are now going and resting. Right, now, our printing pod is ready to print a new duplicant. Let's have a mouth breather. This duplicant sucks up way more air than their fair share. This gas just wants everyone to be happy. Aww. Uncultured and naturally robust. They'll refuse to do art, but they really don't care about where they live. Iron gut, they basically don't get sick. Anemic, biohazard. All the vitamin C in space can't stop this duplicant from getting sick. Very well, so we got plenty of mouth breathers. I would say Rosalind is the better one here though over Gus, because he's a level 6 artist, but can't do art. The stress response of vomiting, I think, is a lot easier to deal with early on. So, Rosalind, you shall be Miss Minnie. There we go. Welcome to the colony. Print! We've just printed ourselves a Miss Minnie. I think that's amazing. And you can go immediately and grab yourself a sleep down there. Now, let's have a look at everyone. How you're doing? How you're doing? I want to see vitals, please. You're tired, but you're generally okay. A new friend. This is happy to see a new face in the colony. Stress change minus 0.03% per second. Calissa Fox, tired, new friend, tired. Okay. Well, that's good. They are grimy though, and this is going to be unfortunate. That's going to be a long time before we can fix that for them, but we will, of course, try. Now then, what are we needing over there? Unreachable as is. Oh, of course, yes, I failed to dig this away. My initial plan was just to build it there, and then I decided I'd build it one over, and then I didn't update what I was doing. Such a derp. But this will allow us to get a little bit of food being made. Now, we've got the research queued, but nothing is happening because we need to fabricate research packs. Kind of like Factorio in that way. You need to make the research first. Generally speaking, though, it won't make them unless it's got something to research, so I just stick them on constant, repeated fabrication. It's a lot easier. There we go. Let's go ahead and get this built, please, so that we can make some delicious, delicious noms. Now, people are nomming. Oh, you're eating the meal. That's unfortunate. I was about to make them into much better things, but okay. What have we got? We've still got meal lice. Each one of these requires 5 meal lice, so I'll make 3 of those. And then mush bars, another 3. Mush bars require dirt and bottled water. Understand? They're not particularly nice. May cause diarrhea. Yeah, bad times are those. This is actually a little bit dangerous because we could easily contaminate our water source down here. You know what we're going to do as a result of that? First and foremost, we are going to dig away this. Then we're going to deconstruct this and build out a little ledge over here that's going to catch any nastiness that might be coming down here. We'll build a new stairs over there then so that you can get access to this water, because they're going to need it. There we go. Just get that sorted, because I'm way too worried that this will just dribble down there. And it's horrible. Once you've got pee in your water source, it takes a lot of technology to get that pee back out. Right, so what's wrong there? Insufficient resource. Meal lice, really? We've got loads. Oh, they've all gone. That is unfortunate. They did not last very long at all. Okay, well in that case, just make more mush bars then, please, and indeed thank you. Now, we've got all this sorted, which is lovely. Let's have a look at what else we can build right now. We've got a couple of things. Massage table is super good for reducing stress, but no one is stressed at the moment, which is grand. Yeah, everyone is super not stressed. But basically, you can build this, assign someone to it, and they'll just get a massage and they'll chill out. This improves the decor opinion and reduces stress by providing light. In that case, let's put it in the places where people are going to be spending the most time. Pop one there. And one over there. Hook these up to power as well. So one there, run that along, and hook that up. There we go. And that'll just generally stop them from getting too stressed about things. Right now, because of the new friend effect, we're not really seeing much of that stress, but it will start happening. It's unreachable, unfortunately. Yes, okay, well, we could just go through here, and they will dig up and then walk down and so on and so forth. Now, yes, they don't look particularly appetizing. They're not meant to be. Right, so how are we doing for research? Let's have a quick gander. We're at 8 out of 20, so, you know, we're making some progress. This is gonna be nasty in time. We could, I suppose, have one just algae deoxidizer, or at least look at the stats. I won't build it because ultimately it's not as efficient as the other one, but basically, use 1,000 grams of algae and 120 watts of power, and you'll produce 600 grams of oxygen. That's per second, and you'll also produce a bit of heat as well. People don't like being around them. Oddly, I would love them. I would consider this a very, very high decor item because it's keeping me alive. But the algae terrarium does things a little differently. It'll use 30 grams of algae and 300 grams of water, but it'll produce 40 grams of oxygen. So if your bottleneck is algae, then this is the better one to use. It'll also consume carbon dioxide. It recycles carbon dioxide into a small amount of oxygen. So it's actually pretty good in certain areas, like, for example, where people sleep, because they are going to be breathing in there and breathing out carbon dioxide. Additionally, it doesn't need power, so you can build it early, except that you need power to have researched it, but it does use water, so you know there are trade-offs with that one. For now though, that's the one I would like to be using the most. There we go, getting all of that out, thank you very much. Nothing left to do in here. I would actually like some more mush bars though, please and indeed thank you. We will be getting one of those algae terrariums up here to deal with the carbon dioxide that's developing there. Also on this floor, because there's a lot of carbon dioxide in there. There we go. Just everyone tucking it in for sleepy times. Very, very happy with that. Let's run the ladder down there, and we'll also deconstruct the ladder in here. But right now they can access the water easily enough. That won't always be the case, so that we're going to put the ladder there just to prepare for the future. Also, lots of copper. And we can access another source of water down there in time. Over here, we do actually want to gather up this algae, so let's go ahead and do that whilst we can. I'll replace these walls with other things later on. Over here, I definitely want to gather all of this up as soon as I can, please and thank you. We're doing okay with the research, and there we go, research complete. Insufficient oxygen generation, though. Oh, okay, let's have a look at the report. Cycle 5 today. No, let's have a look at cycle 4. We're not producing any oxygen. Of course it's insufficient. What am I thinking? Right, so we've got farming tech. Over here we'll need the supercomputer to produce the blue science, but the green science is made with the basic research station that we've got. What I would like to go for next would probably... well, a coal generator is nice because it means one of your duplicants doesn't have to manually produce the power. But I would say probably one of the things we want to go for is a liquid pumping reasonably soon, because that leads to a few different things. One, we can convert slime into algae, which is going to give us even more algae, because this slime is a fairly common resource. Electrolyzer produces a steady supply of oxygen out of water, if we ever needed it, and water purifier uses sand to purify contaminated water. Now, there's one that would be nice, and that's the mechanized airlock, but I have to go through 2 tiers of science to reach either one. We could get the mess table to manage stress levels, and since I can do that with just... yeah, we're going to get that one just to manage the stress levels of my colonists early on. Now, the thing we want over here next would be a compost heap, and we're going to pop that right in this little dip there, and that will allow them to empty out the outhouse into the compost heap. I'm also going to give them a second outhouse, just in case, because they are going to need it. And there we go, they're having to clean that out, and they're just going to produce contaminated dirt. And down here, things are not going too well for them, so let's pop that one in there. We'll also pop one up here as well, I think. Down here, we don't need it yet, but I'm going to put it in there anyway. So there we go. That should help out a lot, actually. We might want to build one of these. The thing with the algae deoxidizer is it converts oxygen until the room enters a maximum air pressure range. Very useful to have once you've got airtight doors, because then you can just have them around and know that you're not going to be wasting oxygen on filling up an enormous area with oxygen, because it doesn't matter if the oxygen's up there if everything down here is carbon dioxide. Alright, how are we doing for food? We're doing alright. We're actually not too bad. I'm still going to make a bunch more of these though. Let's go get those going. Now, any food around here that we can harvest? No, not yet. Alright, well, that's fair enough. Let's go ahead and dig up there. I want to get the coal as well. So I'm just going to allow you to do that work if you would be so kind. People are doing plenty of work all over the place. I do approve of it. How are we doing for raw minerals, raw metal? We're not doing amazingly for raw metal, but overall it's not a terrible thing. Now, you should be delivering the water to where it needs to be. There we go. This is now producing a nice bit of oxygen over there. Using 250 grams a second of water, using 25-ish grams of algae per second, and emitting up to 44 grams of oxygen per second. I imagine it would depend a lot on the CO2 in the area. Gains a more efficient boost in direct light, which is why we popped it right next to these lamps, because we definitely want there to be light over them. Down here, it's not going to work out as well, which is unfortunate. In fact, I could probably move those around to help with that. Yes, you know what? Let's do that. Let's do that. I'll be moving this one across. So we want that to be deconstructed. No? You're not letting me? Yeah, there we go. And then we're going to want to build another one over here. Now, what I'm going to do with this one is I'm actually going to start restricting what they produce. This way, we can actually put something really nice in that area. Like something that'll help with the decor. So hopefully we can get a few more things done around the base for now. Once we finish researching, then we're not going to have to worry too much about the generator, because people won't spend as much time on it. But it is sucking away a lot of man hours worth of work right now, and that's a bad thing. This given that what this uses is bottled water and dirt, I could store dirt primarily in here. I'm tempted to. Let's see. We could have cultivatable soil, which is dirt. We could also store organic in there, but I don't actually believe that we would use any of that. So I could just have this for purely dirt. It seems a little bit of a waste at the moment, but later on I think I will restrict it to just dirt, because that then could be our main one for producing the mush bars. But that means that we will place this right about there. Oh, dear me. That's unfortunate. What's happening over there? This is slightly toxic air. Alright, and that is probably because we've got some sort of contaminated dirt. Yeah, there we are. Emitting contaminated oxygen. We really do need that to be in the compost pile. So I'm going to set this as a much higher priority, so someone will get over there and deal with that. 9 is the highest priority, 1 is the lowest in the general sense of things. And there we go, that should sort that out, and then there we are. It's all being stored in there now. This will break it down into fertilizer. I don't believe it will produce contaminated oxygen as a result. I could be wrong about that though. Either way, I think it probably would be wise if I went ahead and sealed this off. It's not going to do a damn thing right now, but later on we can replace that with an actual airtight door, which will start making a bit of a difference. Now down here, we're taking things down, which is grand. But on that note, I think we've run out of time. This is a very, very enjoyable game, and it's very easy to get lost in it. But I'm going to wrap things up there. I hope you've enjoyed this first episode of Oxygen Not Included, and I hope you will be joining me for the next. But until next time, remember to like if you liked, sub if you haven't, and I'll see you then. Take care, everyone.